My stepbrother kept injuring me. Parents said toughen up. One test exposed it. The stair rail bit into my palm as I gripped it, my left ankle throbbing where it had twisted beneath me. Above me, Derek's concerned voice carried down to where I sat crumpled on the landing. "Oh man, are you okay? I didn't see you there when I was coming down with the laundry basket." Of course he didn't see me. Just like he didn't see me when the bathroom door mysteriously slammed shut on my fingers last Tuesday, or when I somehow got shoved into the corner of the kitchen counter hard enough to leave a bruise shaped like Ohio on my ribs. "I'm fine," I called back, testing weight on my ankle. Sharp pain shot up my leg, but it wasn't broken. Never broken. Derek was too smart for that. Mom's voice drifted from the kitchen. "What happened up there?" "Just a little accident," Derek said, jogging down the stairs past me with fake worry creasing his 18-year-old face. "I was bringing down my laundry and didn't see Jamie on the stairs. They tripped trying to get out of the way." The lie rolled off his tongue so smoothly I almost believed it myself. Almost. I limped down to the kitchen where Mom and my stepdad Richard were having their Saturday morning coffee. The September sunlight streaming through the windows made everything look warm and normal, nothing like the cold calculation I'd seen in Derek's eyes for the past 2 years since our parents got married. "Let me guess," Mom said without looking up from her crossword puzzle. "Another accident." She made air quotes with her fingers, and my stomach dropped. "Mom, he pushed me. I was walking up the stairs and—" "Jamie." Richard's voice cut through my explanation like a blade. Derek was doing chores without being asked. "You were probably on your phone, not paying attention to where you were going." Derek set his laundry basket down by the washing machine, playing the part of the helpful son perfectly. "It's okay, Dad. I should have called out that I was coming down." "See?" Mom finally looked at me, her expression mixing disappointment with exhaustion. "Derek's being mature about this. Maybe you could learn something from that." I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab them both and shake them until they saw what was right in front of their faces. Instead, I stood there in my pajamas at 9:23 a.m. on what should have been a peaceful Saturday, feeling the familiar burn of injustice in my chest. "I'm just saying, maybe if you toughened up a little bit, you wouldn't get hurt so much," Richard continued, taking a long sip of his coffee. "When I was your age, my brothers and I beat the hell out of each other. Made us stronger." Derek nodded along, the picture of agreement. I could help Jamie work out more, maybe build up some coordination. The offer made my skin crawl. More time alone with Derek meant more opportunities for his special brand of help, the kind that left finger-shaped bruises on my upper arms or sent me sprawling into door frames. "That's very thoughtful," Mom said, her voice warming as she smiled at her stepson. "See, Jamie? Derek wants to help." I mumbled something about needing ice for my ankle and escaped upstairs, leaving behind a cozy family scene. In my room, I added today's incident to the list hidden in my desk drawer, September 14th, 9:15 a.m., pushed downstairs, twisted left ankle. The paper was getting full. The list had 37 entries. I counted them again Tuesday night, sitting cross-legged on my bedroom floor with the paper spread in front of me. 37 accidents in 23 months. Everything from Derek's elbow finding my solar plexus when we passed in hallways to cabinet doors swinging into my face while I helped with dishes. The earliest entry was from November 2022, just 3 months after Mom and Richard's wedding. November 18th, 2:30 p.m., slammed bedroom door on right hand, 2 fingernails turned black. I remembered that one clearly because Derek had apologized so profusely that Mom actually praised him for being sensitive to my feelings. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Kai, asterisk still on for Friday. "Coach Martinez said the physical has to be done by 5 p.m. or you can't try out, asterisk." Right. The soccer tryouts. I'd almost forgotten about the mandatory sports physical required for all winter athletes. Dr. Reeves had an opening Friday afternoon, the last possible slot before the deadline. I typed back, "Yeah, appointments at 3:30. Asterisk cool. My mom said she can drive us both since she's taking Kai anyway, asterisk." I stared at the list again. Maybe I should mention something to Dr. Reeves about the accidents. But what would I say? That my stepbrother was systematically hurting me? It sounded paranoid even in my own head. Derek never left obvious evidence. No black eyes or broken bones. Nothing that couldn't be explained away by teenage clumsiness. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. "Jamie? Can I come in?" Derek's voice made my muscles tense automatically. I shoved the list under my mattress. "I'm doing homework. I brought you some ice cream. Peace offering." The doorknob turned before I could respond. Derek stepped in carrying a bowl of mint chocolate chip, my favorite, which somehow made it worse. He'd learned all my preferences over the past 2 years, filing them away like ammunition. "Your ankle looked pretty sore this morning," he said, settling uninvited on my desk chair. I felt terrible about the whole thing. "It's fine. I didn't touch the ice cream. You know, Jamie, sometimes I wonder if you actually like having me as a brother." His voice carried just the right note of hurt confusion. "I try to include you in stuff, but you always seem angry with me." The gaslighting was expertly done. If I got defensive, I'd look unstable. If I stayed quiet, I was confirming his narrative that I was the problem. "I don't know what you mean," I said carefully. Derek leaned forward, and I caught something cold flicker behind his concerned expression. "I've been thinking maybe you need more independence. Less supervision. Mom and Dad worry about you getting hurt so much, but maybe if you had more freedom to make your own mistakes." My blood turned to ice water. "What are you talking about?" "Well, there's that party at Madison's house this weekend. I could tell them I'm keeping an eye on you there. Make sure you get some normal teenage experiences." His smile was all teeth. "Unless you think you can't handle it without getting into trouble." The trap was beautiful in its simplicity. Say no, and I looked like a scared little kid who needed protection. Say yes, and I'd be alone with Derek at a house party full of drunk teenagers where anything could happen and be written off as typical party chaos. "I'll think about it," I said. "Great. Oh, and Jamie." He paused at my bedroom door. "You might want to be more careful on the stairs." I'd hate for you to get seriously hurt before your big physical on Friday. The door clicked shut behind him, leaving me staring at the untouched ice cream and wondering how he knew about my doctor's appointment. Thursday morning brought a new development that made my stomach clench with dread. I was grabbing my backpack from the kitchen counter when I overheard Mom on the phone in the living room. Yes, Dr. Reeves, I understand the appointment is tomorrow. No, I hadn't planned on being there, but if you think it's necessary. I froze, pretending to dig through my bag while straining to hear every word. Parental presence required for what kind of questions? Mom's voice carried a note of confusion. She's 16, I thought routine sports physicals were. I see. Yes, of course. I'll be there at 3:30. My heart hammered against my ribs. Dr. Reeves wanted Mom at the appointment. That never happened for sports physicals, I knew because Kai had gotten 3 of them over the years, always going in alone while his mom waited in the car. Everything okay? Derek appeared beside me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. When had he gotten so good at moving silently? Fine, I managed, shouldering my backpack. You look nervous. Worried about something? The casual question felt loaded with meaning. I met his eyes and saw something that made my blood run cold. He looked pleased. Not concerned. Pleased. Just thinking about the math test, I lied. Right. Math. Derek grabbed an apple from the fruit bowl, taking a loud bite. Hey, speaking of tomorrow, I mentioned to Dad that Madison's party might be good for you. Social development and all that. He seemed really interested in the idea. Before I could respond, Richard's voice boomed from the hallway. Jamie. Come here for a minute. I found him in his home office, still in his bathrobe with coffee stains down the front. Financial papers covered his desk in neat piles. Richard was an accountant who treated family life like a balance sheet that needed constant adjustment. Derek tells me you've been having some social struggles, he said without preamble. Trouble fitting in at school. I haven't been having. He's worried you're becoming too isolated. Spending too much time in your room, not enough time building normal teenage relationships. Richard leaned back in his chair, studying me like a column of numbers that wasn't adding up correctly. He suggested this party on Saturday might be a good opportunity for you to branch out. I stared at him. Derek suggested that. He's looking out for you, Jamie. That's what family does. Richard's tone suggested this conversation was a formality, the decision had already been made. He's offered to keep an eye on you, make sure you don't get into any trouble. I think it shows real maturity on his part. The trap was closing around me with mathematical precision. Derek had somehow positioned himself as my protector while setting up a scenario where he'd have complete control over my safety. At a party. With alcohol. And dozens of potential witnesses who'd be too drunk or distracted to notice if something happened. I don't really want to go, I said carefully. Richard's expression hardened. This is exactly what your mother and I have been talking about. You need to stop being so fearful about everything. Normal teenagers go to parties. They don't hide in their rooms making excuses about why they can't handle social situations. I'm not making excuses. Derek's willing to take responsibility for you, which frankly shows more confidence in your abilities than you're showing in yourself. He turned back to his computer, dismissing me. You're going. End of discussion. I walked to school in a daze, Derek's earlier words echoing in my head. I'd hate for you to get seriously hurt before your big physical on Friday. He'd known. Somehow, he'd known that Dr. Reeves was going to ask questions that required parental presence. And now he was maneuvering me into a situation where anything could happen, where any injuries could be explained away as party accidents. By lunch, I'd worked myself into near panic. I sat across from Kai in the cafeteria, pushing mystery meat around my tray while he talked about weekend plans. You're not eating, Kai observed. And you look like you're about to throw up. What's going on? I glanced around the crowded cafeteria, making sure no one was listening. Can I ask you something? About your sports physicals. Did your mom ever have to come in with you? Kai frowned. No, why would she? It's just height, weight, blood pressure, basic stuff. Takes like 15 minutes. He leaned forward. Why? What's different about yours? I couldn't tell him. Not here, not yet. Maybe not ever. Nothing, I said. Just wondering. But as I watched Derek laugh with his friends 3 tables away, I knew tomorrow's appointment was going to change everything. Thursday night I barely slept. Every creak of the house settling made me think Derek was moving around, planning something. When I finally drifted off around 3 a.m., I dreamed about being trapped in Dr. Reeves' office while Derek stood behind Mom, making throat-cutting gestures that only I could see. I woke up at 6:15 to find a text on my phone from an unknown number. Asterisk, hope your appointment goes well today. Try not to trip on the way there. Asterisk. My hands shook as I screenshotted it. The message disappeared 30 seconds later. At breakfast, Derek was the picture of helpful older brother, packing extra granola bars in Mom's purse in case Jamie gets nervous and needs a snack. He reminded her about the office building's confusing parking situation and even offered to drive us himself. That's so thoughtful, Mom said, ruffling his hair. But I think Jamie and I can manage. It's just a routine physical. Right. Routine. Derek's smile was warm, but his eyes found mine across the kitchen. Though sometimes doctors ask weird questions. Medical liability stuff. Don't take it personally if Dr. Reeves seems suspicious about normal teenage accidents. The word accidents hit like a slap. He was preparing her. Getting ahead of whatever Dr. Reeves might ask by framing it as ridiculous medical paranoia. What do you mean, suspicious? Mom asked. Oh, you know how liability works these days. Jamie's had a few bumps and bruises, totally normal stuff, but doctors have to ask about everything now. Cover their bases. Derek shrugged, pouring himself orange juice. I just don't want Jamie to get embarrassed if Dr. Reeves makes a big deal out of nothing. Embarrassed about what? Mom's tone sharpened slightly. The usual sibling stuff. Jamie sometimes thinks I'm too rough when we're messing around, but you know how sensitive they can be. Derek's voice carried just the right note of fond exasperation. I'd hate for some misunderstanding to make Jamie look dramatic. There it was. The preemptive strike. If I said anything to Dr. Reeves, I'd be proving Derek's point about being dramatic and oversensitive. Mom was already nodding along, probably remembering every time she dismissed my complaints as sibling rivalry. School crawled by with agonizing slowness. In third period English, we were discussing the crucible and the way accusations could destroy lives even when they were false. Mrs. Patterson kept talking about mass hysteria and the danger of believing dramatic teenagers over reasonable adults. The girls in Salem started with small lies, she said, pacing in front of the whiteboard. But once they realized how much attention they got, how much power they had, the lies grew bigger and more destructive. I stared at my desk, feeling the weight of 37 documented incidents in my hidden list. Was I like those girls? Was I seeing malice where there was only coincidence? At 2:45, Mom picked me up from school in her silver Honda. The drive to Dr. Reeves' office took 12 minutes through downtown traffic, neither of us talking much. Mom drummed her fingers on the steering wheel at red lights, probably annoyed about leaving work early for what she thought was routine paperwork. Derek mentioned you've been having more accidents lately, she said as we pulled into the Medical Plaza parking lot. Tripping, walking into things. Maybe we should ask Dr. Reeves about coordination problems. Inner ear issues or something. My stomach dropped. I don't have coordination problems. Honey, you fell down the stairs just last weekend. And there was that door situation, and didn't you walk into a cabinet last month? Mom turned off the engine, looking at me with what might have been concern or frustration. I'm not criticizing. I'm trying to help. Those weren't my fault. Jamie. Her voice carried a warning. Let's not start this again. Derek feels terrible about the accidents you've had around him. The last thing he needs is you making him sound like some kind of bully. We walked into the medical building in silence. The elevator ride to the third floor felt like descending into a trap, even though we were going up. With each passing floor, I felt the weight of Derek's manipulation settling around us like a net. Dr. Reeves' waiting room smelled like disinfectant and old magazines. Mom checked us in with the receptionist, a tired-looking woman named Sandra who'd been working there since I was 10. Sports physical for Jamie Peterson, Mom said. Though I'm not sure why I need to be here. Sandra glanced at her computer screen, then at me, then back at Mom. Dr. Reeves requested parental presence due to some concerns noted in a patient file. She'll explain everything. Concerns noted in a patient file. My mouth went dry. The waiting room had maybe 6 other people scattered across uncomfortable chairs, most of them reading their phones or flipping through magazines from 2019. Mom sat next to me, occasionally glancing at her work emails, clearly annoyed about the time away from the office. At exactly 3:30, a nurse called my name. Jamie Peterson. Dr. Reeves is ready for you. As we followed the nurse down the hallway, past examination rooms with closed doors and the soft murmur of other appointments, I realized this was it. Whatever happened in the next 30 minutes would either validate 2 years of fear or confirm that I was exactly as dramatic and oversensitive as everyone thought. The examination room was small and sterile, with motivational posters about healthy eating and exercise. Dr. Reeves was waiting with a thick file folder and an expression I'd never seen before, serious in a way that made my pulse quicken. Hello, Jamie. Mrs. Peterson. She gestured for us to sit down. Thank you both for coming in today. Before we begin the standard physical examination, Dr. Reeves said, settling into her chair with my file open, I'd like to discuss some patterns I've noticed in Jamie's medical history over the past 2 years. Mom shifted beside me. Patterns? Dr. Reeves pulled out what looked like a timeline printed on medical letterhead. Since January 2023, Jamie has been seen in our office, urgent care, or the emergency room 14 times for various injuries. That's significantly above average for a healthy teenager. 14 times. I'd never counted the actual medical visits, only the incidents themselves. My hidden list suddenly felt inadequate. Kids get hurt, Mom said, but her voice carried less certainty than usual. Jamie's always been a little accident-prone. Let's review the specifics. Dr. Reeves adjusted her glasses. January 15th, contusion to the ribs with minor swelling. February 3rd, 2 bruised fingers requiring x-rays to rule out fractures. February 28th, twisted ankle with mild sprain. March 12th, laceration on the palm requiring 3 stitches. Each date hit like a physical blow. I remembered every single incident, Derek's elbow in the hallway, the car door slamming on my hand, the stairs, the broken glass I'd supposedly grabbed while cleaning up. March 31st, bruised shoulder blade. April 18th, minor concussion from walking into a cabinet door. May 6th, bruised ribs again, different location. Dr. Reeves looked up at Mom. Are you starting to see the pattern I'm concerned about? Mom's face had gone pale. Some of those were just clumsiness. Growing pains. Jamie's been adjusting to our blended family situation. The frequency increased notably after November 2022, Dr. Reeves continued. Before that date, Jamie's medical history shows normal childhood injuries, scraped knees, 1 broken wrist from roller skating at age 12, typical bumps and bruises. Then something changed. November 2022. 3 months after the wedding. Right when Derek started his campaign of careful accidents. Dr. Reeves, Mom's voice took on a defensive edge, if you're implying something inappropriate is happening in our home. I'm not implying anything yet, Mrs. Peterson. I'm presenting medical facts. Dr. Reeves pulled out another sheet. This morning I spoke with the school nurse, Mrs. Goldman. She's documented 17 separate occasions when Jamie came to her office with injuries sustained at home. 17 times in 18 months. My chest felt tight. I'd forgotten about those visits, the times I'd needed ice packs or bandages after particularly bad mornings with Derek, when I couldn't hide the damage well enough to make it through the school day. The most concerning aspect, Dr. Reeves said, is the nature of these injuries. They're consistently minor but frequent, often in locations that would be difficult to injure accidentally. Bruises on the upper arms consistent with gripping. Contusions to the back and ribs suggesting impact from behind. And the timing. She flipped to another page. 83% of these injuries occurred on weekends or during school breaks. Times when Jamie would be spending more time at home. Mom was staring at the papers like they contained a foreign language. I don't understand. If something was happening, Jamie would have told me. Dr. Reeves looked at me directly for the first time since we'd sat down. Jamie, I need to ask you some questions now, and I need you to answer honestly. Are these injuries the result of accidents? The moment stretched between us like a wire under tension. In the silence, I could hear the clock ticking above the examination table, the distant sound of traffic outside, Mom's shallow breathing beside me. Jamie? Dr. Reeves prompted gently. I thought about Derek's text that morning. About his confident smile at breakfast while he planted seeds of doubt about my credibility. About Richard's lecture on toughening up and Mom's dismissive air quotes around the word accident. Some of them, I said carefully. Which ones were not accidents? Mom made a sharp sound beside me. Jamie, what is she talking about? Dr. Reeves held up a hand. Mrs. Peterson, I need Jamie to answer first. She leaned forward slightly. Jamie, is someone in your household deliberately causing these injuries? The question hung in the air like a smoke alarm going off. Once I answered, everything would change. There would be no going back to the careful balance we'd maintained, no more pretending that our blended family was working. But there would also be no more counting incidents on hidden lists. No more flinching when Derek entered a room. No more walking on eggshells while everyone praised him for being such a thoughtful older brother. Yes, I whispered. The word hung in the examination room like a dropped bomb. Mom's sharp intake of breath was the only sound for several long seconds. Who? Dr. Reeves asked, her voice professionally calm while she reached for a different form from my file. My stepbrother. Derek. Each word felt like pulling glass from my throat. He makes it look accidental, but he's been hurting me since about 3 months after Mom married Richard. Jamie, Mom started, but Dr. Reeves raised her hand again. Can you give me specific examples? Dr. Reeves had her pen ready. Starting with the most recent incident. Last Saturday. He pushed me down the stairs but made it look like I was in his way when he was carrying laundry. The words came easier now, like water through a broken dam. Before that, he slammed the bathroom door on my fingers. He said he didn't know I was there, but he looked right at me before he did it. Mom's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and something that might have been dawning horror. Honey, Derek would never. Mrs. Peterson, Dr. Reeves interrupted, I need you to let Jamie finish. Jamie, how long has this been happening? 23 months. I've been keeping track. My voice gained strength. I have a list hidden in my room with 37 incidents. Dates, times, what happened. The first one was November 18, 2022 when he slammed his bedroom door on my hand and made my fingernails turn black. Dr. Reeves was writing quickly. Has anyone else witnessed these incidents? That's the problem. He's really smart about it. He only does it when we're alone, or when it's easy to make it look accidental in front of other people. I glanced at Mom, whose face had gone completely white. And when I try to tell Mom or Richard, they say it's normal sibling stuff. That I need to toughen up. The morning of the stair incident, I continued, finding courage in Dr. Reeves' attentive silence. Derek knew exactly what to say to make Mom think I was being dramatic. And this morning at breakfast, he warned Mom that you might ask suspicious questions about normal teenage accidents. He was preparing her to not believe me. Dr. Reeves set down her pen and looked directly at Mom. Mrs. Peterson, were you aware that Jamie has been reporting these incidents to you? Mom's hands were shaking. Yes, but I thought. Derek always seemed so sorry when accidents happened. He'd bring Jamie ice cream, or offer to help with chores. He's been nothing but kind to Jamie. That's part of it, I said, the words tumbling out now. After he hurts me, he's extra nice. Brings me food, offers to spend time together, makes these concerned comments in front of you and Richard about how I'm getting hurt so much. It makes him look like the perfect big brother while making me look clumsy and ungrateful. Dr. Reeves pulled out another form. Jamie, I need to ask, has Derek ever threatened you directly? Verbally told you he would hurt you? Not exactly. But yesterday he came to my room and somehow knew about today's appointment. He said he'd hate for me to get seriously hurt before my physical on Friday. Then he convinced Richard to make me go to a party with him this weekend, where he said he'd keep an eye on me. Mom made a choked sound. The Madison party. Richard said Derek was being so mature, looking out for you. He's been setting it up for days, I explained. Making it sound like I need social help, like I'm too isolated and fearful. Now if I refuse to go, I look like I'm proving his point about being antisocial. Dr. Reeves was filling out what looked like an official report. Mrs. Peterson, I'm going to need to contact Child Protective Services. The pattern of injuries, combined with Jamie's testimony about deliberate harm and the sophisticated manipulation tactics described, constitutes abuse that needs immediate investigation. Child Protective Services. Mom's voice cracked. But Derek he's Richard's son. This will destroy our family. Mom, I said quietly, it's already destroyed. You just couldn't see it. Dr. Reeves closed my file. We'll still need to complete the physical examination for Jamie's sports clearance, but first I need to document any current injuries and take photographs for the CPS report. Jamie, would you be comfortable with that? I nodded, feeling lighter than I had in 2 years despite the fear clawing at my stomach. Outside the examination room, I could hear normal sounds, other patients checking in, phones ringing, someone laughing at the reception desk. Life going on while my world finally, terrifyingly, began to change. The physical examination revealed more evidence than I'd realized I was carrying. Dr. Reeves documented a fading bruise on my left shoulder blade that I'd forgotten about, from when Derek had accidentally shoved me into the kitchen counter while reaching for a glass 2 weeks ago. She found finger-shaped marks on my upper arm that were so faint I hadn't even noticed them, probably from when he grabbed me to steady me after I'd supposedly tripped on the porch steps. These bruises are consistent with your timeline, Dr. Reeves murmured as she photographed each mark with a medical camera. The coloration suggests they're about 10 to 14 days old. Mom sat in a corner chair, staring at the floor. She hadn't said much since Dr. Reeves mentioned CPS, just occasional whispered, "I can't believe this," or "How did I miss this?" After the examination, Dr. Reeves made a phone call that lasted 8 minutes. I counted every second while Mom and I sat in uncomfortable silence. When she hung up, her expression was grimly professional. "CPS will be conducting a home visit tomorrow at 2 p.m., she said. "Until then, I'm recommending that Jamie stays somewhere else tonight. Do you have family or friends who could provide temporary housing?" "I could call my sister," Mom said faintly. "But Richard. I have to tell Richard about this. And Derek." My stomach clenched. "You can't tell Derek." "Not yet." "What if he—" "Jamie's right," Dr. Reeves interrupted. "Given the sophisticated nature of the manipulation you've described, it would be best if the subject isn't aware of the investigation until CPS can conduct their initial interview. Mrs. Peterson, I understand this is difficult, but Jamie's safety has to be the priority." Mom finally looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something break behind her eyes. "All those times you tried to tell me. All those times I said you were being dramatic or sensitive. I thought I was teaching you to be resilient. You were trying to save your marriage," I said, "and it came out more bitter than I'd intended." "No, that's not." Mom stopped, her face crumpling. "Maybe it was. Maybe I was so desperate for this to work, for Richard to love me, that I ignored." "Oh God, Jamie. I'm so sorry." Dr. Reeves cleared her throat. "Mrs. Peterson, I need to ask about your husband's awareness of these incidents. Has Derek told him about the accidents?" "Richard knows about some of them. The bigger ones, like the concussion and the twisted ankle." Mom wiped her eyes with a tissue. "But he always said the same thing I did, that siblings fight, that Jamie needed to toughen up. Derek would act so remorseful, and Richard was proud of him for taking responsibility for accidents. So Richard has been reinforcing Derek's cover story without realizing it," Dr. Reeves noted, writing something down. "That's unfortunately common in these situations." My phone buzzed with a text. "Derek again, asterisk, how did the appointment go? Dad's asking if you're cleared for tryouts, asterisk." Dr. Reeves saw me staring at my phone. "What is it?" "Derek. He's asking about the appointment." I showed her the screen. "Don't respond yet," she advised. "We need to be strategic about this. Mrs. Peterson, what would normally happen when you get home? What would Derek expect?" Mom thought for a moment. "Usually Jamie goes straight to their room to do homework. I probably mentioned that the physical went fine and Jamie's cleared for soccer. Derek might ask a few questions, but nothing too detailed. Can you do that? Act normal until tomorrow afternoon?" Dr. Reeves asked me. The thought of sitting at dinner tonight, pretending everything was fine while Derek smiled across the table, made me feel sick. But I nodded. "I can try. I'll call my sister now," Mom said, pulling out her phone. "Tell her Jamie needs to stay over tonight. Study group or something." As Mom stepped into the hallway to make her call, Dr. Reeves leaned forward. "Jamie, I want you to know that what you did today took incredible courage. Many victims of this type of systematic abuse never speak up at all." "What happens to Derek?" I asked. "After CPS investigates?" Dr. Reeves hesitated. "That depends on what they find and whether criminal charges are filed. But Jamie, whatever happens, you did the right thing. This pattern would have only gotten worse." Through the examination room window, I could see the parking lot where Mom's Honda sat waiting to take us home. Home to Derek, who was probably planning something special for the party tomorrow night. Home to Richard, who thought his son was a model teenager looking out for his difficult step-sibling. In less than 24 hours, everything would explode. But for the first time in 23 months, I felt like I could breathe. Mom's sister Karen lived in a cramped apartment 40 minutes across town, surrounded by ceramic cats and the lingering smell of vanilla candles. She didn't ask many questions when Mom dropped me off at 6:30 p.m. with an overnight bag and a shaky explanation about needing some space to think. "Family drama?" Karen asked, setting out towels and making up the couch. "Your mom sounded pretty rattled on the phone." "Something like that," I said, grateful she didn't push for details. I tried to do homework but couldn't concentrate. Every few minutes I'd check my phone, expecting angry texts from Derek or confused messages from Richard. Instead, there was just silence. Mom had texted once at 7:15, asterisk, told them you're studying at Karen's. Derek seemed fine with it. Everything normal so far, asterisk. At 8:43, my phone rang. "Richard." "Hey kiddo," his voice boomed through the speaker. "Your mom said you're burning the midnight oil over at Karen's place. Good to see you taking your studies seriously." "Yeah, just trying to stay focused," I managed. "Derek mentioned he's looking forward to tomorrow night. Madison's party should be good for you, social interaction, teenage fun. Just don't make your old stepdad look bad, alright?" Richard laughed at his own joke. "And congratulations on passing your physical. Soccer team's lucky to have you." My stomach twisted. Derek was still planning on the party. Still assuming everything was proceeding according to his careful manipulation. In 18 hours, CPS would be sitting in our living room, and Derek had no idea his world was about to collapse. "Thanks, Richard. I should get back to studying." "Alright, don't stay up too late. See you tomorrow." After he hung up, I sat staring at my phone for a long time. Richard sounded genuinely happy, proud even. He had no clue that his perfect son had been systematically torturing me for almost 2 years. Tomorrow, when the truth came out, it wouldn't just destroy Derek, it would shatter Richard too. At 10:17, Derek finally texted, asterisk, "Miss having you around for our usual evening chat. House feels weird without my little sibling here, asterisk." The message made my skin crawl. Our usual evening chat meant him finding excuses to corner me, make subtle threats, or set up tomorrow's accident. I'd never realized how much those interactions terrified me until I was finally free of them. I didn't respond, but Derek wasn't done, asterisk, "Mom seemed stressed about something. Did the doctor say anything concerning? You know how she worries, asterisk." He was fishing. Something about Mom's behavior had triggered his instincts, and now he was probing for information. I screenshot both messages and texted them to Mom with a simple question mark. She called immediately. "Don't respond to him," she said, her voice tight with anxiety. I think I might have acted strange at dinner. I kept staring at him, trying to see what Dr. Reeves saw. Richard asked if I was feeling okay twice. "What did you tell him?" "That I was tired from leaving work early." "But Jamie, when Derek brought me ice water without being asked, when he offered to do the dishes, when he asked about your appointment with that concerned expression." Mom's voice cracked. I saw it. Finally saw it. The performance. Did Richard notice? "Richard thinks Derek is being especially thoughtful tonight. He actually said, and I quote, 'See how Derek takes care of his family.' That's what good character looks like." I closed my eyes, imagining Derek basking in Richard's praise while calculating his next move. "Mom, what if he figures it out? What if he realizes what happened at the doctor's office?" "He won't," Mom said, but she didn't sound convinced. "We just have to make it 18 more hours." At 11:30, Derek sent one final text, *sweet dreams, Jamie. "Tomorrow's going to be such an important day for our family, *. I stared at that message until the words blurred together. Important day. Did he mean the party, or did he somehow know about CPS? Was it a coincidence, or was Derek already 3 steps ahead like always? I forwarded the text to Mom and Dr. Reeves, then turned off my phone. Outside Karen's apartment window, the city lights twinkled peacefully, oblivious to the earthquake scheduled for 2 p.m. tomorrow. In 12 hours and 30 minutes, everything would change. I barely slept on Karen's lumpy couch, jolting awake every hour to check my phone. At 6:47 a.m., there was a text from Mom, Richard left for work early. Derek at gym until 8. Coming to get you at 7:30 so you can grab school clothes before he gets back, *. The drive home felt surreal. Our house looked exactly the same, Mom's flower boxes, Richard's perfectly edged lawn, the basketball hoop where Derek sometimes shot hoops while watching me through the kitchen window. Everything normal on the surface. 5 minutes, Mom said as we pulled into the driveway. "Get what you need for school and we're leaving." I grabbed my backpack and a change of clothes from my room, moving quickly but quietly. As I was stuffing my chemistry textbook into my bag, I noticed something that made my blood freeze. My desk drawer was slightly open. The one where I kept my hidden list. With trembling fingers, I pulled the drawer fully open. Empty. The piece of paper with 37 documented incidents, dates and times carefully recorded in my handwriting, was gone. "Mom." I called, trying to keep my voice down. "Mom, get up here now." She appeared in my doorway, car keys still in her hand. "What's wrong?" "The list I told Dr. Reeves about. The one with all the dates and incidents. It's gone." I showed her the empty drawer. Derek was in my room. Mom's face went pale. "Are you sure you kept it there?" "Positive." I put it under my mattress Tuesday night, but moved it back to the drawer Wednesday morning. My hands were shaking. "Mom, if Derek has that list, he knows exactly what I told Dr. Reeves. He knows about the CPS visit." We stared at each other for a moment, the implications sinking in. Derek wasn't just smart, he was paranoid smart. He'd sensed something wrong in Mom's behavior last night and gone searching for evidence. "We have to call Dr. Reeves," Mom said. "And CPS. They need to know he's aware of the investigation." A car door slammed outside. Through my bedroom window, I could see Derek getting out of his Jeep, gym bag slung over his shoulder. His usual post-workout routine would take him straight to the kitchen for a protein shake. "Back door," Mom whispered. "Now." We crept down the stairs and through the laundry room to the back door. I could hear Derek in the kitchen, opening the refrigerator, the blender whirring to life. Normal sounds that now felt ominous. In the car, Mom called Dr. Reeves while I texted my first period teacher that I'd be late due to a family emergency. Dr. Reeves answered on the second ring. "He has the list," Mom said without preamble. "Derek found Jamie's documentation and took it sometime yesterday evening." Dr. Reeves was quiet for a moment. "This changes things. I'm calling CPS immediately to move up the timeline. They'll want to interview Derek before he has more time to prepare his defense." "What kind of defense?" I asked, leaning toward Mom's phone. "If he's as sophisticated as you've described, he'll use that list to his advantage," Dr. Reeves explained. "He'll claim you're obsessive, that keeping detailed records proves you're unstable. He might even say you've been planning false accusations." My stomach dropped. Even in getting caught, Derek had found a way to make me look like the problem. "There's something else," Mom said. "He sent Jamie a text last night saying tomorrow would be such an important day for our family. Now I'm wondering if he already knew about the investigation." "CPS will handle this," Dr. Reeves assured us. "But Jamie, you need to stay away from the house today. Don't go home after school. Derek is going to be angry and cornered, and that makes him dangerous." As we drove toward my school, I realized Derek had been planning his endgame all along. The party tomorrow night had never been about social development, it had been about having one final opportunity to hurt me, badly enough to discredit anything I might say later. Now that plan was ruined, but Derek had my list. 37 carefully documented incidents that he could twist into evidence of my instability. At 8:23 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from Derek, "Found something interesting in your room, little sibling. We should probably talk, *. I showed the text to Mom, who nearly swerved into oncoming traffic. "Don't respond," she said, gripping the steering wheel. "Whatever you do, don't engage with him." But Derek wasn't waiting for a response. 3 more messages came in rapid succession. "Really creative writing project you've been working on. Very detailed, *. Though some of your dates are wrong. I was at basketball camp July 15th, easy to prove, *. Sloppy work, Jamie. Expected better from you, *. My blood turned to ice. Derek wasn't just twisting the narrative, he was already poking holes in my documentation. July 15th was when he'd supposedly accidentally elbowed me in the ribs while we were both reaching for cereal. But if he could prove he wasn't even home that day. He's dismantling my evidence, I whispered, scrolling through his messages. Mom, what if I got some of the dates wrong? What if CPS thinks I'm lying? Mom pulled over in the parking lot of a gas station, her hands shaking as she took my phone. After reading Derek's texts, she was quiet for a long moment. We're calling Dr. Reeves again, she said finally. Right now. Dr. Reeves answered immediately. Mrs. Peterson. I was just about to call you. CPS has moved the home visit to 11 a.m. this morning. They want to interview Derek before he has more time to prepare. He's already preparing, Mom said, putting the phone on speaker. He's sending Jamie texts claiming some of the dates in the list are wrong. Says he has proof he wasn't home for at least one incident. That's actually not uncommon, Dr. Reeves said, which surprised me. Victims often remember the emotional impact of abuse more clearly than specific dates. What matters is the pattern, not whether July 15th versus July 16th is accurate. But what if CPS thinks I made it up? I asked. Jamie, listen to me carefully. Derek's response is actually more evidence in your favor. An innocent person would be confused and hurt by these accusations. A guilty person immediately goes on the offensive, trying to discredit the victim. His texts show calculated damage control, not genuine shock. At 8:47, Derek sent another message, by the way, talked to Madison this morning. Had to cancel your party invite. Told her you've been having some mental health struggles lately. She was very understanding, The cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. Even now, Derek was destroying my social connections, spreading rumors that I was unstable. By Monday, half the school would probably know that Derek's troubled step-sibling was having psychological problems. Screenshot everything, Mom said grimly. Every message he sends is more evidence of manipulation. Dr. Reeves was still on the line. Mrs. Peterson, where are you right now? Gas station on Maple Street, about 10 minutes from Jamie's school. Good. Drop Jamie off and go straight home. CPS needs you there when they arrive, and they want to observe Derek's behavior when he realizes what's happening. Can you act normal for the next 2 hours? Mom looked at me, her face pale but determined. I can try. Jamie, Dr. Reeves continued, stay at school today. Don't leave campus for any reason. If Derek shows up or tries to contact you, call 911 immediately. As Mom dropped me off at the main entrance, my phone buzzed one final time. Derek's message was shorter than the others, but somehow more terrifying. See you real soon, little sibling. Walking into first period chemistry, I realized Derek had been planning this confrontation all along. The stolen list, the calculated texts, even canceling the party, he was systematically destroying my credibility while positioning himself as the concerned family member dealing with a disturbed step-sibling. But for the first time in 23 months, adults were finally listening to me. In 2 hours and 13 minutes, CPS would knock on our front door. Derek thought he was 3 steps ahead, but he didn't know the game had already changed. I made it through first period chemistry by focusing on balancing equations, something with clear rules and predictable outcomes, unlike my life. During the break between classes, I checked my phone obsessively. No new messages from Derek, but that somehow felt worse than his calculated threats. At 9:47 a.m., Mom texted, home now. Derek in his room with music loud. Acting normal but keeps checking his phone. CPS arrives in 1 hour 13 minutes, I was walking to second period English when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Jamie Peterson. This is Sandra Martinez from Child Protective Services. I'm calling to confirm some details before our home visit. My heart hammered against my ribs. Okay. Dr. Reeves mentioned your stepbrother may be aware of the investigation. Has he made any direct threats since yesterday? I ducked into an empty bathroom and read her Derek's messages from this morning. When I got to the part about him canceling the party and telling people I had mental health struggles, she made a sharp intake of breath. That's textbook isolation behavior, she said. He's cutting off your support systems and creating a narrative where you're unstable. Jamie, this actually strengthens your case significantly. It does. Innocent people don't immediately start damage control. They ask questions, express concern, maybe get defensive. They don't systematically dismantle someone's credibility within hours of learning about accusations. At 10:23, I was sitting in AP history when someone knocked on the classroom door. Mrs. Chin stepped outside briefly, then returned looking confused. Jamie Peterson. You need to go to the office, please. Take your things. 23 pairs of eyes followed me as I packed up my backpack. The walk to the main office felt endless, my mind racing through possibilities. Had something happened at home? Had Derek done something to Mom? Principal Williams was waiting with a woman I didn't recognize, tall, professional, with kind but serious eyes. Jamie, this is Detective Lisa Park. She needs to speak with you. My legs went weak. Is my mom okay? Your mother is fine, Detective Park assured me quickly. But we need to discuss what happened at your house this morning. She led me to a small conference room usually reserved for parent meetings. The beige walls and motivational posters about college readiness felt surreal given the circumstances. At approximately 10:15 a.m., CPS arrived at your home for a scheduled interview, Detective Park began. When they knocked, your stepbrother Derek answered the door. He immediately became agitated and claimed the visit was harassment based on false accusations from his unstable stepsister. My stomach clenched. What did he do? He refused to allow CPS inside and became increasingly aggressive. When your mother tried to intervene, Derek shoved her into a wall hard enough to leave bruises on her shoulder. Oh God. I covered my face with my hands. This is my fault. If I hadn't said anything. Jamie, stop. Detective Park's voice was firm but gentle. Derek's reaction proves everything you told Dr. Reeves. An innocent person doesn't assault their stepmother when social services comes to ask questions. Where is he now? In custody. We arrested him for assault and interfering with a child welfare investigation. Your mother is at the hospital getting checked out, precautionary, she's not seriously injured, and she asked me to make sure you knew you were safe. I stared at the conference table, trying to process what she told me. Derek, who had spent 2 years carefully crafting accidents and maintaining plausible deniability, had finally lost control completely. The interesting thing, Detective Park continued, is what we found in Derek's room when we got the warrant. He had your list of incidents, but he'd also created his own documentation. A detailed journal describing you as obsessive, vindictive, and prone to self-injury to get attention. Self-injury? My voice cracked. I never hurt myself. We know. But Derek had been building a counter-narrative for months, possibly longer. Photos of you with bruises that he claimed were self-inflicted, screenshots of your traumatic texts to friends about accidents, even recordings of conversations where you sounded upset or angry. The scope of Derek's manipulation was staggering. While I'd been hiding my list in a desk drawer, he'd been constructing an elaborate defense that painted me as the real problem. Here's what we need now, Detective Park said. CPS still needs to complete their investigation, and we'll need your full statement for the criminal case. But Jamie, Derek can't hurt you anymore. At 11:34 a.m., sitting in that sterile conference room, I finally understood that Derek's biggest mistake had been underestimating how his own behavior would expose him. He'd planned for everything except the moment when his careful mask would slip completely. Detective Park drove me to the hospital where Mom was getting examined. During the 20-minute ride, she explained that Derek's journal contained over 40 entries spanning 18 months, detailed observations of my behavior, photos taken without my knowledge, and what she called preemptive character assassination. He documented every time you seemed emotional or upset, she said, navigating through downtown traffic. But here's the thing, the dates in his journal correspond almost exactly with the incidents on your list. He was recording your reactions to the abuse he was causing. My phone had been buzzing constantly with texts from classmates who'd seen me leave with a detective. The rumors were probably spreading like wildfire. Jamie Peterson arrested, Jamie Peterson in trouble, Jamie Peterson's family drama finally exposed. By lunch, everyone would know something major had happened. What about Richard? I asked as we pulled into the hospital parking lot. Does he know Derek was arrested? Detective Park's expression tightened. His law firm called him out of a client meeting at 10:47. He's struggling to process the situation. Keeps insisting there must be a misunderstanding. We found Mom in the emergency room, sitting on an examination bed with her left shoulder wrapped. She looked smaller somehow, fragile in the hospital gown, but her eyes were clearer than I'd seen them in months. Jamie, thank God. She hugged me carefully, mindful of her injured shoulder. I was so worried Derek might try to find you at school. What exactly happened this morning? I asked, settling into the plastic visitor chair. Mom closed her eyes, gathering herself. CPS arrived exactly at 11. 2 social workers, Sandra Martinez and James Chin. I answered the door, but Derek came running downstairs before I could explain who they were. She paused, touching her bandaged shoulder. The moment Sandra introduced herself and mentioned they were there about concerning injury patterns, Derek's whole demeanor changed. It was like watching someone flip a switch. How do you mean? All that careful politeness, that concerned big brother act, it just vanished. He started yelling that you were a manipulative liar who'd been planning this for months. Said you kept obsessive records because you were mentally unstable. Detective Park pulled out a small notebook. According to the social worker's report, Derek specifically claimed Jamie had been building a case against him using fabricated incidents. But then Sandra asked to see Derek's room, Mom continued. Standard procedure for these investigations. Derek completely lost it. Started screaming that no one was searching his private space based on lies from his psycho stepsister. My stomach clenched at the familiar insult, but hearing Mom repeat it seemed to physically pain her. When I tried to calm him down, tried to explain that we needed to cooperate with the investigation, he shoved me so hard I hit the wall. Mom's voice shook slightly. That's when I knew. Finally knew. Because the Derek I thought I knew would never hurt anyone, especially not me. A nurse appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Peterson. Your discharge papers are ready. The shoulder is badly bruised but no structural damage. Keep it iced and follow up with your regular doctor if the pain doesn't improve in 72 hours. As Mom signed the paperwork, Detective Park explained next steps. Derek would be held pending arraignment, probably Monday morning. CPS was continuing their investigation, though Derek's violent reaction had basically confirmed their suspicions. And Richard was driving home from his office, demanding answers about why his son was in jail. He'll be here in about 20 minutes, Detective Park warned. Are you prepared for that conversation? Mom looked at me, then at her bandaged shoulder. I don't think anyone could be prepared for this conversation. Through the hospital room window, I could see the parking lot where normal people were dealing with normal problems. Inside this room, we were preparing to face Richard's world completely collapsing. At 12:43 p.m., exactly 23 hours after Derek had wished me sweet dreams and promised tomorrow would be important for our family, everything had changed. But he'd been right about one thing, it was definitely an important day. Richard arrived at the hospital like a storm front, his usually perfect hair disheveled and his tie askew. I could hear him at the nurse's station before I could see him, his voice carrying that edge it got when clients questioned his accounting methods. My son is Derek Peterson. He was apparently arrested this morning based on some kind of misunderstanding. I need to see my wife immediately. Detective Park stepped into the hallway to intercept him. Through the partially open door, I watched Richard's face cycle through confusion, disbelief, and growing anger as she explained the situation in her calm, professional tone. Assault? Richard's voice rose. Derek doesn't assault people. He's never been in so much as a schoolyard fight. There has to be some mistake. Mr. Peterson, I understand this is difficult to hear, but... No, you don't understand. Richard pushed past Detective Park toward Mom's room. My son is not violent. If someone got hurt, it was an accident, or they're lying, or... He stopped short when he saw Mom's bandaged shoulder, his face going pale. Linda. What happened to you? Derek shoved me into the wall, Mom said quietly. Hard enough that I hit my shoulder blade on the door frame. Richard stared at her for a long moment, like she was speaking a foreign language. That's impossible. Derek would never hurt you. He adores you. Just last week he was asking if you needed help with your garden. Richard, sit down, Mom said, but he remained standing, pacing the small space like a caged animal. This is about Jamie's accusations, isn't it? He turned to look at me, and I saw something desperate in his eyes. The doctor's appointment yesterday. What exactly did you tell them? Detective Park moved closer to my chair. Mr. Peterson, I need you to lower your voice. We're in a hospital. I told them the truth, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. About Derek hurting me. About the pattern of accidents that weren't accidents. Richard's laugh was bitter and harsh. Accidents that weren't accidents. Do you hear yourself? You sound paranoid, Jamie. Delusional. Richard, stop. Mom struggled to sit up straighter. I've seen Derek's journal. The police showed me excerpts. He's been documenting Jamie's injuries for over a year, taking photos, building some kind of case to make Jamie look unstable. That doesn't prove anything except that Derek was worried about Jamie's behavior. Richard ran his hands through his hair. Maybe he was trying to help. Maybe he saw the same patterns we saw, the constant injuries, the dramatic reactions, the way Jamie always blamed him for normal accidents. Detective Park pulled out her phone. Mr. Peterson, would you like to hear what your son said when CPS asked to search his room? Before Richard could respond, she played an audio recording. Derek's voice filled the small hospital room, and hearing it again made my skin crawl. I'm not letting you into my space based on lies from my psycho stepsister. Jamie's been planning this for months, building fake evidence because she's jealous that Dad actually likes me. She probably hurt herself half the time just to make me look bad. The recording continued. You want to know about patterns? The pattern is that Jamie's a manipulative little freak who can't handle not being the center of attention. Check her browser history if you want to see some real concerning behavior. Richard's face had gone completely white. That doesn't sound like Derek. There's more, Detective Park said. This is from when your wife tried to intervene. Derek's voice again, but louder now, more vicious. Stay out of this, Linda. You've been enabling Jamie's crazy for 2 years. Maybe if you'd been an actual parent instead of trying so hard to make Dad happy, none of this would have happened. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Richard stared at Detective Park's phone like it had physically struck him. The assault occurred approximately 30 seconds after that statement, Detective Park added. When Mrs. Peterson asked Derek to calm down and speak respectfully. Richard sank into the remaining visitor chair, his corporate composure finally cracking. This isn't who Derek is. He's been accepted to 3 colleges. He volunteers at the animal shelter. He brings me coffee every morning before school. He brought me ice cream after he hurt me, I said quietly. Made sure you and Mom saw how sorry he was. How caring. That's what made it so perfect. For the first time since entering the room, Richard really looked at me. Not through me, not past me, but directly at me. And something in his expression shifted. The stare incident last weekend, he said slowly. Derek said you weren't paying attention. But you said he pushed you. I nodded. And the bathroom door. The cabinet in the kitchen. All those times Derek seemed so concerned about your clumsiness. Richard's voice was barely above a whisper. How long? 23 months. Since November 2022. The precise timeline seemed to hit Richard like a physical blow. November 2022 was when Derek had finally seemed to accept me as part of the family. When Richard had been so proud of how well the boys were getting along. Oh God, Richard whispered. What has he done? Richard sat in that hospital chair for almost 10 minutes without speaking, staring at his hands like they held answers to questions he'd never thought to ask. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red-rimmed and hollow. The basketball camp, he said suddenly. July 15th, Derek said he was at basketball camp, but that was cancelled. I remember now because he was disappointed about losing the deposit. Richard's voice cracked. He was home that weekend. The whole weekend. Detective Park made a note. So Derek lied about his alibi for one of the incidents Jamie documented. Not just lied, Richard continued, his voice gaining a desperate edge. He knew Jamie had written down that date. He found the list and immediately tried to discredit it, but he got his own lies mixed up. Mom reached for Richard's hand with her uninjured arm. Honey, I know this is. No, you don't know. Richard pulled away, standing abruptly. You don't know what this means. I've been defending him. For almost 2 years, I've been telling Jamie to toughen up, calling you both overdramatic, praising Derek for being so mature and helpful. His voice rose with each word. I made him untouchable. Through the hospital room window, I could see normal families visiting normal patients with normal problems. Inside our room, Richard was realizing he'd been the perfect unwitting accomplice to his son's systematic abuse. Mr. Peterson, Detective Park said carefully, right now we need to focus on. On what? On the fact that my 18-year-old son has been torturing his stepsister while I applauded him for it. Richard laughed bitterly. Do you know what I said to Jamie last week? I said Derek shows real character by taking responsibility for accidents. Accidents he caused on purpose. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, asterisk this isn't over. Jail is temporary. Family is forever, asterisk. Detective Park saw my face change. What is it? I handed her my phone with shaking fingers. She read the message, her expression darkening, then immediately started typing on her own phone. Derek's supposed to be in holding without phone access, she muttered. Someone's going to lose their job over this. He has friends, Richard said quietly. Teammates, study group partners. Kids who think he's this golden boy because that's what I taught everyone to think. He looked at me with something that might have been horror. How many people has he convinced that you're the problem? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. Different unknown number, asterisk heard you got Derek arrested with fake abuse claims. Pretty sick, even for you, asterisk. Then another, asterisk everyone knows you're lying about Derek. He's literally the nicest guy in school, asterisk. Detective Park was now speaking rapidly into her phone while scrolling through my messages. I need a trace on these numbers immediately. And someone needs to check on who's been visiting Derek Peterson in custody. This is what he meant, I whispered, the pieces finally clicking together. When he said it wasn't over. He's been building this narrative for months, maybe years. Even from jail, he can destroy my reputation. Mom struggled to sit up straighter despite her injured shoulder. Jamie, anyone who matters will see the truth eventually. Will they? I showed her my phone as more messages came in. Look at these numbers. There are at least 6 different people texting me right now, calling me a liar. Derek spent 2 years making sure everyone saw him as the perfect big brother dealing with his difficult stepsister. Richard was staring at my phone screen, watching the messages roll in. Madison's party, he said suddenly. What about it? Derek convinced me that party was for your own good. Said you needed social development, that you were becoming isolated because you blamed him for normal sibling conflicts. Richard's face was ashen. But he wasn't trying to help you socialize. He was planning something, wasn't he? The thought of what Derek had intended for that party made my stomach clench. Dr. Reeves said abusers often escalate when they feel cornered. He was going to hurt you badly enough to discredit anything you might say later, Detective Park concluded, still working on her phone. Alcohol, chaos, teenage drama, the perfect cover for a party accident. My phone buzzed with what had to be the 20th message, *, Derek's dad owns half the businesses in town. You really think people will believe you over them, *. That one made Richard flinch visibly. Because it was true, Richard's accounting firm handled major clients, Derek played varsity sports, they lived in the right neighborhood and went to the right church. I was just the awkward stepkid who'd never quite fit in. We need to get Jamie out of here, Mom said, looking toward the hospital room door. If Derek's friends know he was arrested, they probably know Jamie was the one who reported it. Detective Park nodded grimly. I'm arranging a safe house placement through CPS. Just temporarily, until we can assess the full scope of this situation. A safe house. Richard's voice cracked. It's really that serious. Mr. Peterson, your son spent 18 months documenting what he called Jamie's unstable behavior, while systematically causing the injuries he was recording reactions to. When that plan failed, he immediately shifted to a public character assassination campaign coordinated from jail. Detective Park met his eyes. Yes, it's that serious. As if to prove her point, my phone buzzed one final time. This message was different from the others, longer, more detailed, *, Derek showed me your crazy journal months ago. Said he was worried you might hurt yourself or someone else. Everyone's going to know what you really are, *. The hospital room fell silent except for the steady beep of medical equipment somewhere down the hall. Derek hadn't just been covering his tracks, he'd been setting up this exact scenario for months, maybe longer. He knew, I whispered. Somehow, he knew this day would come, and he's been preparing for it all along. 6 months later, I sat in the courthouse lobby waiting for Derek's sentencing hearing, my hands steady for the first time in over 2 years. The morning sun streamed through tall windows, casting everything in sharp, clear light, nothing like the shadows I'd lived in for so long. Detective Park approached with a folder thick enough to stop a door. Ready for this, Jamie? I nodded, looking at the evidence that had ultimately saved me. Derek's own documentation had become the prosecution's strongest weapon. His detailed journal entries, meant to discredit me, had instead revealed the calculated nature of his abuse. Every photo he'd taken of my injuries, every recording of my distressed reactions, every careful notation about my instability, it all proved premeditation. The cyberbullying charges stick? I asked. All of them. Derek orchestrated that text campaign from jail using 7 different accomplices. 2 of them flipped when they realized they were looking at criminal conspiracy charges. Detective Park smiled grimly. Turns out Derek's friends weren't so loyal when their college prospects were threatened. The investigation had unraveled Derek's network systematically. His teammates who'd helped spread rumors about my mental health, his study group partners who'd been fed carefully crafted stories about my dangerous behavior, even Madison, whose party Derek had planned to use as cover for escalating his abuse. When faced with evidence of their participation in witness intimidation, most of them had turned on Derek immediately. Richard appeared at the end of the hallway, walking slower than I'd ever seen him. The past 6 months had aged him decades. His accounting firm had lost 3 major clients when Derek's arrest became public, and he'd voluntarily stepped down from the Chamber of Commerce board. But he kept showing up to every hearing, every meeting, every difficult conversation. How are you holding up? He asked, settling into the seat beside me. Better, I said, and meant it. The safe house placement had lasted only 2 weeks before CPS found a therapeutic foster family specializing in sibling abuse cases. Mom visited twice a week for family counseling sessions that were slowly rebuilding trust between us. I have something for you, Richard said, pulling out a college acceptance letter. University of Portland soccer program. Full scholarship. My hands shook as I read the letter. After everything Derek had done to isolate me, destroy my reputation, convince everyone I was unstable, I was getting exactly what I'd worked for. Coach Martinez wrote your recommendation letter, Richard continued. She said Derek's arrest actually helped your case. Showed incredible resilience in the face of systematic adversity. He paused, his voice thick. I'm proud of you, Jamie. Should have said that 2 years ago. The courtroom doors opened. Derek walked out in an orange jumpsuit, flanked by guards, looking smaller than I remembered. When he saw me in the lobby, our eyes met for the first time since his arrest. He mouthed a single word, liar. I stood up straighter and mouthed back, convicted. The judge had sentenced Derek to 18 months in juvenile detention followed by 2 years of supervised probation and mandatory psychological counseling. The cyberbullying and witness intimidation charges would follow him to college applications, job interviews, background checks. His careful reputation lay in ruins. Walking out of that courthouse, I realized Derek had been right about one thing, our confrontation had exposed the truth about our family. Just not the truth he'd expected. For the first time in 29 months, I wasn't counting incidents or watching doorways or flinching at sudden movements. I was free, vindicated, and finally moving forward. Derek's systematic campaign to destroy me had ultimately destroyed only himself. The truth had won.